The presence of home has always been something that's been important to us for the last, 30 odd years of practice. Is not seeing nature as this other, this alien place, but feel that you're at home in that place. You recognise things in it, you read it, you respond to it. So I think we've kept revisiting this idea of nature and all that it can offer you in all its diversity gives us this incredible home to thrive in.
I suppose we see the earth as our home, and with your home, if you love it, you're not going to damage it or be cruel to it. So we feel we should see the earth as our home and cherish it. And artists, through showing the wonder of the home that we share, this marvellous planet and this incredible cosmos. Because we're so lucky to be here and to experience it and have consciousness. We've been allowed to do that through evolution, or if you're a religious person, you could feel it's a religious experience, this consciousness we've got. And really, each individual's only got but 70 years of this consciousness to experience this incredible blue planet. If we don't love it, what are we any longer?
I think a work that has been really kind of important to us and unlocked things was Roseness Bench, because it was the first work where we really invited a human being to complete the work, that by lying on top of the bench becomes a conduit for how people interact or can feel and sense the landscape.
I suppose Roseness Bench was the first work we made where you physically interact with it. That was the first of a series of works where the instructions were built into the design of the actual work. It was saying, lie down here and take time. And once you're lying down, you can't hear your feet moving. You're seeing the world from a completely different visual perspective. All our work from there onwards, we are trying to change how you perceive the world. Hona, we see it as an artwork in that lineage from Roseness Benches through the various stages. Hona itself is home. It's got HO for home and NA for nature. So it's a home in nature. We kind of see it as allowing people a week, depending on how far they take it themselves, to immerse themselves in this context and this very special environment.
When the house was finished, it was September, and the landscape was this incredible palette of orange and blue. The loch across the road from Hona was this deep, deep blue, and the autumnal colours were coming into the landscape, and it just seemed such a perfect colour palette to bring together. So we were kind of, hinting at things like that and letting the landscape kind of inform it. I suppose a lot of the little nature finds are mostly coastal, although some are from up in the Peat Path. But the coastline is such a kind of place of astonishing chemistry and revelation. If you swim in amongst the seaweeds, you just see these things that you can't believe they're all going on every day when we're all in front of our computers or whatever. Like the mermaids' purses that are in the house. When you think about that birth process and the location of them winding onto the seaweeds, and then they wash up and show themselves to you, but that's all something that happens very privately and away from human eyes, and we then find these little relics along the tide line, and that whole world that's so alien suddenly shows itself to you if you look. We've always felt that way about landscape, that landscape can have this profound effect on you. And I think in many ways this landscape is incredible at doing that. The evolution of it was all so slow, but so visible to you in a way that in a built environment, you're maybe looking 200 years into the architecture or something. But here, to be honest, I don't even know what I'm looking at a lot of the time, but you're sensing through, even the twist of the heather stems or the little fragments of quartz that have worn and eroded away from bigger blocks. It just feels it's such a kind of fascinating landscape that's so much bigger than us as human beings, and I think it's really hard not to be affected by that. But if you come from an urban place, it can take a wee while to kind of work its magic on you, because you're carrying all your thoughts and it may seem like a bleak landscape initially, until you can start to tune into these things, these kind of jewel-like things that are within the landscape.
There's a big map in Hona with places to go to and visit, and some hints about what to do there, but not that much. At one point, we had more instructions. At the beginning of thinking about all this, we thought, go to this place and lie down in this big boulder, or walk across this piece of moss in your bare feet. So we had it a lot further, but then we thought it was getting too didactic, and not everybody would like that. So we pulled back on that. The homing book's still there, so you could take the homing book with you if you wanted in these excursions and do them. With the library, for instance, there's life-changing books in that library, and we've selected them carefully, curated them carefully. Everything in Hona has got hints and suggestions within the curation of it. Nobody really spends a week at Hona and is not affected.
We've had people visit Hona now who thought they would be doing the whole island on their week's holiday here, and then there's something about Hona that kind of stills them and makes them focus on this area. And I think we're trying to nudge that feeling by suggesting things you might hear, things you might see, things you might look for. So you're kind of coaxing them to kind of really engage with it. And I think people are quite often surprised that they are so engaged by this, and they hardly leave this little area. And then I suppose within the house there are objects, finds from this, like these kind of jewel-like finds that if you tune in, you can discover yourself. So it's again reinforcing that, come out, come and look at this, But also the history of where Hona stands. It was a mission hall. Mission halls were kind of weeknight prayer places. So these little mission halls would have been the focus of people's thinking and thoughts and worries and wishes. And so we tried to kind of honour that in the kind of presence of the house. And the original mission hall had 16 pews. So half of them were donated to the village, and the other half we used to make furniture out of. And we tell that story in the house, that the wood has this presence, that it has this, it existed for 50 years as a place of prayer. And so to a certain extent, Hona continues that meditation, but it's more of a meditation on the landscape itself.